All right. Welcome to another episode of the Napoleon and Gueco podcast.
What's up, Napoleon? You're sitting right next to me right now.
That's right. I don't know how that's possible.
Hey, we are in different places, yet virtually, we're in the same place.
Yeah, exactly. That's the fun of AI. And
Yeah, how's everything going? You do anything exciting this week?
well, I've been watching the Olympics.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping up, but what's been going on with US? Have they won any medals?
So at the moment of this recording, they currently have the most medals of any team, but they are behind Australia and Japan in gold medals. And that's the interesting thing about the Summer Olympics is that Team USA does dominate them, and they
Yeah.
got a lot of athletes, and they do pretty good. Like, so many of their athletes do make the podium, but they don't always top it. And then you have
Yeah.
other countries that maybe don't have as many athletes
They
that
have one freak.
that's right. They more of the time, I'll know consistently that they won't get as many medals, but they're very consistent with topping the podium.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's usually China that's the top
Yeah.
competitor against the US when it comes to the Summer Olympics. And, that makes sense. They got a bunch of athletes, but Great Britain is also one to watch, and especially France, because the Olympics are in Paris this year.
Right. Who's leading in terms of gold medals? Do you know?
So at the moment, it's Japan and Australia, but we are recording this on Sunday, July 28th. So
Right.
at the time
That could
that
change.
this gets uploaded, the medal count will definitely have changed. Hopefully, U.S. will be leading in golds at that point, but
There
they
you go.
definitely,
USA.
yeah. One thing about Team USA, and I don't want to get too far into detail because they really haven't had a lot going on, but there's so many events that go on, like volleyball, tennis,
Basketball.
basketball. Yeah, exactly.
Boxing.
Basketball is one that the U.S. definitely dominates. And last summer, both the men's and the women's U.S. team won the gold medal. So there's those events where they're maybe in the preliminary rounds right now, but the U.S. usually ends up coming and taking some medals
Taking
right
some
there.
golds.
So as it gets like maybe early on, the U.S. will kind of maybe be in the top 10, maybe struggling.
Also track, right? Doesn't US do usually well in track?
We do have some good athletes. Usually they do get dominated by some of the other countries, like Usain Bolt. He did retire
Oh, yeah.
last Olympics, though.
Yeah.
He's from Jamaica. That's definitely
Yeah.
a country that is a huge competitor with the U.S. But definitely they have some athletes in track and field, not just running, like, some of those like
Yeah.
throwing competitions.
Yeah.
They did pretty well there. I noticed last Olympics they weren't doing as well. They were definitely dropping off compared to like the Rio 2016 Olympics, which was one of the best for Team USA. But yeah, no doubt about it, we will end up with the most medals. It just may not be the most golds. That's where the question comes in, and that's Australia is actually looking pretty good right now. And
Wow.
one event that I do like to watch a lot of in the Summer Olympics is swimming.
Yeah.
What Michael Phelps was famous for. So there is one of the women's swimmers named Katie Ledecky who dominated in the 2016 Rio Olympics. And in the Tokyo Olympics for 2020, she actually got an Australian competitor, Ariana Titmus. I think that was the name. I don't know if I'm saying the name right.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
I'd say at this point, she practically has Katie Ledecky's number on that, because
Yeah.
Katie Ledecky was seen as one of the best in Olympic swimming, and definitely one of our best athletes. But this Australian has definitely given her a run for her money, because
Wow.
she beat her in at least 2 events in Tokyo for the gold medal, and she beat Ledecky in the first event of this Summer Olympics to get the gold medal. Not only that, Ledecky ended up getting bronze. I think it was an athlete from Canada that beat her for the silver.
For
So
the silver.
that's the
Wow.
whole thing. It's like, that's why I talk
Yeah.
about in previous episodes.
Hey,
Why
they're
I'm
they're
kind
they're
of,
competing for milliseconds sometimes, so it's crazy.
oh
It's
yeah, a lot of times they're separated by tenths, sometimes even hundredths of a second. It's crazy,
and
but
even one
almost
second, it's
all the
nothing.
differences with where they stand on the podium comes with less than a full second. As like crazy as that sounds, but you look at the clock, I mean, man, it's really fast. But that is
Yeah.
kind of the thing, and talking about being a pessimist in previous episodes, you have athletes like Katie Ledecky, who all these people who watch the Olympics, like, going for Team USA, like, they put so much anticipation into those athletes, and then they just come out disappointing them. Like, everyone thought, okay, sure, she might get beat by Ariana Titmus, but then she'll probably
the
get
Canadian.
silver. But no, she gets bronze. And it's just kind of like, what? Like, is she even going to top the podium the rest of the Olympics? But it's the same thing in the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. It was one of our downhill skiing athletes, Michaela Schifrin, and everyone saw her as one of the best that Team USA had to offer. Is like, oh, she's definitely making the podium. She's the best athlete we have. What happened? She like fell in the snow, had an accident, got disqualified twice. And that's when it's kind of like, I was all ready for it to happen. Everyone was in shock, and I was like, seriously, I
That
saw it
sucks.
coming. But the U.S. usually gets dominated in the Winter Olympics. Like Summer Olympics, they always lead medal counts, maybe not goals, but winter. They always get buried by like Canada, the Netherlands, Norway, Russia, like the countries where they do tend to have more snow more of the time. And I get it, that makes sense.
Right. Switzerland.
Switzerland? Oh, they definitely do well. Yeah, enough about the Olympics. What
Yeah.
else has been going on with you?
I'm still up in Maine, still making that money, working like a mofo, trying to get that buck.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know
just
you said
had
that you've
a
been
lot of
working
work.
really hard. A lot of coaching been going on, right?
Yeah, it's summer, so people want to play tennis. And yeah, it's been going good. I've been doing a lot of umpiring, which is kind of cool. We talk about sports and watching sports. So when you umpire for a match, you get to watch the match up close.
Oh,
That's
really?
pretty cool. And
Oh,
it's
you mean
good to
like,
get paid for it.
are you being the line judge who kind of
No, I'm
calls who
like on the
gets the point?
chair, the umpire chair. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just for the final, we do it where the tournament finalists get the umpire to call out the score and maybe challenge.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Kind of
Yeah.
like, someone hits the ball and it's like love 15, love 30.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or
And
advantage
then also
point
like
Djokovic.
if they think a ball was in, they can call me, like they can challenge, and I could like come up the chair because we have clay courts, so you can tell the mark. So I can come off the chair and check out the mark, see if it was in or out, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty cool gig,
No, sounds like it. And, speaking of tennis, though, I don't know if you're keeping up with the Olympic tennis, which it really hasn't been that much yet. But of course, I mentioned this before. Even with all the Grand Slam titles Novak Djokovic has, he still has not won an Olympic gold medal. And I think they said this will be his last chance to get one. So I know he's really trying to work for that. But also, Rafael Nadal, this is for sure going to be his last Olympics. Because I know he's very close to retiring, and
Oh, he's playing?
he is, but like the deal is just with like how much he's hurt himself, and of course that's going to come with age. He
Right.
doesn't really rank anymore because when you don't play for a little while, you fall off the rank, you fall off the
Right.
leaderboard like really fast, and so he will be playing Djokovic in the round of 32, like at the time of this recording, which probably by the time we upload this, it will be over. Definitely be something to watch. I'd say Djokovic has the
Alcaraz
advantage
definitely,
because he definitely, like, Djokovic's been playing more. He's been out there. But also what I think, one thing, I don't know if you noticed, was that Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz, since they're both from Spain, they've been playing doubles together in the Olympics. And
Oh, that's awesome.
between the two of them, between, like, all of Nadal's experience and just with all the skills that Alcaraz has that we've talked about, I could easily see those guys topping the podium for, like, the doubles. And that
It looks
is
like Nadal won in 3 sets against Vucevic.
yeah, in the first rounds, and
Yeah.
in the Olympics, like, it's not the Grand Slams, they only have to win best of 3. But
Right,
yeah, that
right.
was the thing, is that, I mean, sure, Nadal won, but he did struggle, and like Djokovic,
Yeah.
first round, he like beat his opponent 6-0 to 6-1. So
Yeah.
that's why I think Djokovic, just because he's been on the courts more, he's got the advantage. But at the same time, like, I'd say Nadal definitely has a chance to top the
Well,
podium.
Nadal
with
is good for him. That
Alcaraz.
is two out of three.
What's
He
that?
can come up with the goods in 3 sets. So in 2 sets even. So it's good for him actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm glad. I'm hoping that, you know, he probably can't win the singles, but if he can win the doubles with Alcaraz, like get that gold medal, I'd just be real happy for that because I know this will kind of be his last hurrah if that happens. Because I know he's very close to retire, and I think he even talked about like this could be his last year playing tennis. So I really hope he gets something out of it. Djokovic, I could maybe see 1 or 2 more years in him. I know he's just still. For one thing, he's trying to get that gold medal, but also he's trying to get that 25th Grand Slam title to top Margaret Court.
Right. Yeah, looks like Alcaraz beat this guy from Lebanon. I didn't even know Lebanon had a professional tennis player. That's awesome. Hadi Habib. Yeah, Alcaraz definitely one of the favorites for sure. I mean, Medvedev, you know, you got Djokovic. You got a whole bunch of guys that can get in there. Busetti, Monfils, Rudd. Yeah, it's gonna be Zverev is there. Yeah, I mean, it just looks like an ATP regular Grand Slam, I guess.
Oh yeah, and Alexander. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, just Wawrinka is in there. You know, the Swiss.
Oh, Stanleas Wawrinka. Yeah, he's actually won about 3 or 4 Grand Slam titles. I mean, he don't really rank because he hadn't been playing as well lately, but you got to think about it. You know, he's kind of
another interesting player. He already lost, but Raonic. You know Raonic from Canada?
Yes, I remember him.
I haven't seen him in a while, so it's interesting to see him in the draw.
Yeah, no, he can definitely hit the ball really fast, but
he lost to Coffer, which is probably it's a tough match. So
yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, it's a good draw.
Absolutely, and one thing about it is like people like Wawrinka, which like, you know, he's maybe only won like 3 Grand Slam titles, but you got to think about it is that sure you compare him to like Djokovic or Nadal or Federer, who's gotten like double digits, like, you know, at least 20 titles. It's nothing. But then you think about how many hundreds of players compete, or people who just compete just to make it in those tournaments.
Yeah.
Or just think about all the players who have like now retired, who maybe were professional, they were good players, but you know how freaking hard it is to win a Grand Slam title? So still to walk away and have 3 under your belt or 3 in your trophy closet, whatever. That's not too bad.
Right. No, it isn't. It isn't. No, Wawrinka definitely. He's got one of the strongest backhands in the game. I think at some point his backhand was number 3 top powerful backhand in rating. So there were only 2 players that had a more powerful backhand, and they had a 2-hander backhand. Because Wawrinka has a 1-hander backhand, so he's definitely got the most powerful 1-hander backhand in the game. I don't know if that's still current. No, power doesn't really mean better, you know. But definitely a rare specimen of how much power he puts on that 1-hander backhand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who do you like? Like, if you had to pick one guy from the list of the tennis players for the Olympics, who would you pick?
Djokovic.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm still betting on him, despite the fact it's kind of like I don't know what it is, but like he does eventually win, but he does go through these moments, and he's not the only one. In fact, he tackles the mental aspect better than most players, but it's kind of like what happened during the Tokyo Olympics when he was on track, he was cruising through it in the semifinals with Zverev, and it looked like it was game over until like Zverev just was like, what have I got to lose? And he just started hitting the ball harder, then broke Djokovic in the second set, went on to a third, and then he like broke Djokovic twice and ended up winning the semifinals against Djokovic, and then went on to win the gold medal too, which I was happy for Zverev, but then I felt bad for Djokovic because it's kind of like, okay,
slipped away.
Yeah, it did, but like he still got to compete in the bronze medal match, but then he ended up losing. And that's what
Who did he lose against on that one?
I don't remember who it was, but it's just he ended up losing there. That's what really sucks is that he went all that way, had all that momentum. It gets shut off, and he ends up in fourth place.
Oh, I remember that he lost to Juan Martín del Potro.
Right, I remember
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
actually, who was it? The 2016. I remember I think it was Andy Murray that won the gold medal right
Yeah, I
there.
think so. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think Andy Murray's about to retire too, so I definitely
Right.
like to see him back on the podium one more time. But I remember he actually, who was it? That Del Porto? Was that his name?
Yeah, del Potro. Yeah,
The
the
Potro?
Argentinian.
Yeah, from Argentina. He ended up getting the silver medal, but he was looking pretty good at one point. Was looking
Yeah,
as a star athlete.
just that guy has been dealing with injuries his whole career. It's just kind of sad, really. Like
Oh,
if you look at
exactly.
his story, that's a sad story because he had the game that could beat any. He's like one of the first ones who finally started beating all of the top
Oh yeah.
five players in the world. Yeah, back when Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, and Federer were on top, this guy came out and beat everybody. So
Oh yeah.
he did
Oh, he
win
was
that U.S. Open, but I think that's the last thing he won, and it was downhill from there, and injuries and wrists injuries, and then he kept falling on the court. He would fall, like weird, like he had this like thing where he would just fall he would just try to hit a shot, maybe a drop shot or something, and he would just strip. And he had done that repeatedly where he would get hurt. And it was like, what the heck? It's like some kind of mind thing that people say is a mind thing. I don't know. But
Well, yeah, that's kind of like goes back to a lot of tennis being mental, which, no, it's definitely true. If it wasn't for those injuries, he definitely would have been one of the star players, one of like easily ranking in the top 10. But that was what came as a shock to a lot of people, including myself, was he was like the wild card. He was knocking off a lot of the best players. I mean, he was giving Djokovic a run for his money at one point.
Yeah. And also, like, there was a sad story because his earnings, his dad kind of took his earnings and invested them into this kind of shady
Oh no.
kind of thing, and
Sounds like the movie Rocky 5.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so he kind of didn't enjoy, I guess, the fruits of his labor as much. I don't know if that's still the case. Probably I mean, those guys are good. Like winning one Grand Slam, you definitely have a coaching career if you want it, or you can open your own club and have a nice gig, I guess, for the rest of your life. So it's not like they're hungry for money, but in terms of how much he made, he probably doesn't have as much as like Federer. Talk about someone who retired the right way.
Oh yeah, Federer kind of went out as one of those players. I was like, people respected him, but he kind of went out in the way I feel like Tom Brady did in football. Like, people saw him as a really good player and one of the best, but Federer's last few matches, he was just like, he wasn't playing that well. He got beat pretty bad, like in straight sets in his last tournament. I think it was like Wimbledon 1-2 years ago. And that was the thing about Tom Brady. I believe it was the same year Federer quit. His last season, he even admitted he wasn't being himself. Like, he ended up with winning 8 games and losing 9 games. He still made it to the playoffs because all of his division was all playing horrible, and they just happened to get at the top, which got him in the playoffs. But then he ends up losing pretty bad to the Dallas Cowboys, and that was his final football game. And like, while people still respect him, they still see him as one of the best quarterbacks. When you see his last game, it's just kind of like, he just doesn't really go down a star athlete, or people don't really have that image of him when they think about his last games. Was like, oh, well, he was doing great, but age caught up with him. He didn't go down like Peyton Manning did, because like Peyton Manning.
But I think a lot of the players that go well, it is because they go young. It's like Borg. He retired like 27, I think he was.
Really?
Yeah.
Bjorn
So
Borg,
I mean, he went on top, right? Like, I mean, undefeated. He tried to make a comeback that was like, so his comeback attempt was awful. Like, he came back and people weren't even playing with wood rackets anymore. But he came out with a wood racket and he just got his butt handed to him by just some nobody with a regular racket, pretty much.
Oh,
so
man.
It's an interesting story that you might want to look up in your free time or whatever, like the Borg comeback fiasco. He couldn't win
Actually,
a match after that.
yeah, no, I'm familiar with him, but I think he was kind of before my time. He was one
Yeah.
of the
Also,
older
McEnroe
players.
retired very young. Like they were in their 20s, when they
That's
retired.
true.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
But
Well,
Federer, not only, I mean, yeah, he didn't retire on top of his game, but he
right.
retired on top of his career. Like the deals he made right before retiring with what is that brand? Uniqlo, I think it's. Or who did he go with? I can't remember the name of the brand, but he was Nike, and then he changed right at the very end of his career.
Right.
And basically he had his RF brand, his own brand. Oh my God, he's worth probably $1 billion. I mean, I wouldn't put it out. I wouldn't not consider that he might have come out with $1 billion at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very possible, and that's the one thing you want to do is that there is going to come that day that you have to retire, but you just have to, I don't know if it's the right expression, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Or, you gotta know what to do with your money, because it's kind of like, sure, I mean, you could have a retirement fund and get by with that, but it kind of goes back to the expression. I don't know if it's a very good correlation here, but someone I used to know told me that there's a survey or some statistics show about 80 to 90% of the people who win the lottery go bankrupt.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not saying these retired athletes are going to go bankrupt, because a lot of them, they have managers that know how, like, if they themselves don't know, they can definitely tell them how to manage their money. But that's kind of like, I don't know how it's possible that a lot of these people who win go bankrupt.
I do have a cousin that won the lottery,
Yeah.
and his life, when he won the lottery, that was probably, I would say 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah, your cousin won the lottery. How much was it for?
It was big. Like it wasn't like 20 million or anything, but it was probably like 3 million, something like that, dollars.
It's pretty
This was
darn
in Mexico,
good.
which is, even more. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's enough money that a lot of things came out.
Yeah. It wasn't
basically
3
he's-
million pesos.
Probably. He was, to the point where he didn't know what to do with it, with the money. It was too much, and he didn't know how to invest or anything. I don't know the complete story because I was pretty young. Well, not young, but I just was not really in tune with the family and stuff as much. But I knew about it. Like I knew that he had won the lottery. I knew that he had all these plans and this, and everybody was talking about it. And then it was just one bad story after the next. And to the point where he died. Like he's no longer here. Like that bad. It was that bad. It was just one horror story after another. And
Really?
I can't tell you exactly the details because I don't remember what exactly
No,
it
it's
was.
fine.
It was like, business deals going wrong, people stealing his money, some family borrowing money, never paying him back, and it just destroyed him. And not only like the money, just his relationships, and crazy. It's crazy. It's like it's the worst thing that could have happened to him.
That is really what the sad thing is that this person who actually told me about, people who win the lottery go bankrupt, he talked about how if you do like get a lot of money, or if there's like a lot of money on the table somewhere, your relationships with like your family and friends can change greatly, because it's kind of like, and
now everybody wants a handout. Everybody's
and that's kind of the thing is that, like, I was being stupid telling a friend of mine, like, hey, I just like won a big Super Bowl bet. And then the following night at open mic, he was like, oh, this guy said he just won the Super Bowl, so you know what you need to do? Rob him. And he was making a joke, but it was kind of like,
at least he didn't ask you for money. That's what I thought this was going. I thought you were going to say that. He was like, hey man, can I borrow a few bucks?
But that's the thing is you will get those incidents where, like, if I was to win the lottery, I would not tell anybody unless it was maybe like a really close friend, or maybe some family members that I know, like, would just kind of be nice about it.
But word's gonna spread. Like, you're not gonna be able to contain
exactly. A lot of times, and that's the thing. It's like I'd know how to manage it. Like I'd probably put it in like savings accounts, or kind of put it in like certificate of deposits, just little things here and there where it's like, the way I see it is that, people think, let's say you won $1 million, maybe like you'd have to pay taxes, but let's just assume, okay, you won enough to where after you paid taxes, you had $1 million sitting there.
Okay.
I don't know what your cousin did, but I imagine a lot of people, if they just end
Buy
up
a
going
house.
bankrupt, yeah, they're gonna try to buy a house. They'll try to buy some furniture. They might go and they'll fly first
Buy a new
class.
car. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll fly first class to like Dubai or Paris or
Yeah.
one of those like top cities in the
Yeah.
world.
Start living luxuriously.
Exactly, but at the same time though, you got to make sure that you know how to maintain that lifestyle. And that's why kind of like what I'm not the only one to say it. Other people have told me the same thing is that if you somehow like, get a good chunk of money, what they call that is the principal. So let's
Yeah.
say that $1 million you won, that's the principal. Now, if you want to splurge, maybe go out to the Cayman Islands for a week or so and not like just like overdo it, maybe spend like 3 or 4 thousand, that's not the end of the world out of 1 million. But if you're going and you're just spending it here and there, sure, it's all going to run out. And that's probably how a lot of people go bankrupt. But what they say is that and what I would do if I won that money was put it in accounts that would accumulate interest over time,
Right.
or just funds the word that will end up to where your money makes you money. And that's kind of like what
Or
they say.
or just blow it up on hookers and cocaine, if that's what you want to do. But the problem is people want to do both. They want to blow it up in luxury things, in a house and stuff, and they also want to put it in the investments. And it's like there's not enough. You don't even know what you're doing because you've never had this kind of money. You don't know how much it takes to maintain the house that you're
Exactly.
buying, to maintain the car, to maintain the whatever luxuries you have, and be able to actually put some aside. So
Yeah, because
because
you
you do
don't
want to
know.
have some fun, right? Like it's not like, oh, I just won $1 million and I'm gonna just put it on bonds and
Yeah,
not touch
I
it.
mean that's what people say is like, don't just keep it in a
Live a
mattress all
little.
the time. But yeah, no, I get it. And I definitely like splurge a little bit, but I wouldn't just go all out. And
Yeah.
I know some people who will be like that with money. You could give them $1,000 and
Right
within a
away
few
to go buy
days
the next phone, the
they'd
new
find
iPhone.
but they couldn't even afford that with $1,000. But yeah,
Yeah.
if that was the case, they would find something that they'd spend all that money on. And that's just the thing is that if they have money, they want to spend it, or like once they've practically spent their paycheck once they've gotten it. But that's part of like how you keep living paycheck to paycheck. And of course, one way of like you start accounts, savings accounts, certificate of deposits, and just probably other types of investments like that,
Yeah.
where it makes you money. That's part of the way that you get passive income. And
Yeah, just live off the
that's
interest, I guess.
yeah, that's what a lot of people can retire on. And that's what they say is that you don't spend the principal, you spend
Right.
the money that money makes you. Now,
Exactly. And that's your budget pretty much. Is
yeah.
whatever
And
the
even if you
principal gives
spent
you.
$10,000, what is that? Like 1% of 1 million? That's not a big deal. Just don't maybe spend 100,000, but like,
Yeah.
sure, keep the rest in the bank. And for me, I would be the type that would actually wait for that $1 million to accumulate like $10,000 before I would spend anything. In fact,
I agree. I'm the
sometimes,
same way. I think I would do the same. And also because we're just kind of wiser in that regard, I guess, because we have really high credit scores.
Yes, and we show those off to each other
That
in a
wasn't
previous
by
episode.
luck. We actually did the work there. But
Well,
but
I
I
mean,
think I'm the same way. You know what? One thing I would do is like I wouldn't even own a house or own a car.
oh
I would
no,
just live in hotels and Uber everywhere. Like I would not have anything to tie me down. And this way, the whatever the principal gives me in interest, I just spend that, and I just pay the nice hotel, always a pool, always you have a gym, free breakfast, whatever. It's just like living a
yeah,
luxurious life without owning things. So that's really, I think, what gets us is like we want to own this, own that, more
right.
shit, more stuff.
But that's kind of the problem, though, is that I understand what you're saying, and it's like I do enjoy having the benefit of getting to have my own car, but I kind of feel the same way you do about buying a house. Apparently, that's what a lot of people want ultimately. But just the housing market, just with all these people saying that they can't afford houses and stuff, like I don't really see a reason to do that because at the same
Yeah,
time, though, it's kind of like, sure, like with all that I have to do to maintain my car, like paying for service,
exactly.
maintenance, oil changes, and having to pay for like insurance. And then I got
Right.
like these like vehicle registration fees in Nevada that are like crazy. And I don't really even know why. I look at the breakdown and most of it says government service fee. I'm like, yeah, the government has not performed any service on my vehicle. I have to take that to the car dealership to get service done. So what service is the government providing me other than sending that card in the mail to take my money? But,
Yeah,
even with owning a house, it's going to be like what I pay on the car on steroids.
exactly. Yeah. And that's with like, when your car breaks down, the most that it can cost you is like $5,000. I mean, that's like kind of a nightmare if your
Yeah.
car breaks down. What a house breaks down, that's gonna be in the range of double digits. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be 10,000, 20,000.
Oh, yeah. And also, like, you also have to kind of, redo it to where you got to, like, add fresh coats of paint here and there. You
Yeah.
have to kind of, you have to do little renovations here and there just over time if you want to keep it, if you don't want it just falling apart. That's that, and I
I'm
get
a
it.
renter.
If
I'm a
you want to
renter.
own a house more than anything else, great. But, at the same time, like, I actually do think that you had a good idea with the whole hotel lifestyle. If you had millions of dollars and you had enough that you were accumulating to where you weren't spending
Get
the
the penthouse
principal.
every time. Get the penthouse every night. Yeah.
But no. If you can afford it, if you're making
Yeah,
enough
of course.
to where,
Yeah.
like, what your money's making you is paying your rent on that penthouse and is paying your Uber rides and stuff like that. And, you have conveniences to where you can run errands and do all your grocery shopping without having to have a car. Go for it. I say more power to you. But at the same time, a lot of people who do win the lottery, they'll just start, paying it. They'll start spending the principal, and then before long, all their money's gone. They get evicted. That's definitely an end goal that I would love to have, because honestly, it's never really been my dream to, like, own a Ferrari or any type of fancy cars. I just want something that gets me from point A to point B. And as far as like a house, I don't really care about that. Honestly, I would love to have a penthouse more than anything else when it comes to residency.
Right. Yeah, me too.
As an entertainer, like, say, hey, you get a show in a place like Las Vegas, like, what do they have? Like, all these performers out here that say, like, Bruno Mars or Usher,
That's where they're staying,
Lady Gaga, the Las Vegas residency. It shows that, they perform at that hotel. They usually get their own penthouse in that hotel.
Yeah.
And they're right there. They just got to go down the elevator, get on stage. They're working. And it's like, that just feels like that would be a dream. That would be a dream come true for me, just to have a penthouse and just go get to perform at the hotel all the time. If you want to have that luxurious lifestyle, just know you have the money for it. Know you have the backup and that you could manage it. I mean, now I do know some people, they just want to, like, live in the moment. They want to live in the present. They don't care if, like, all their money's gone. They're just kind of like, hey, well, I just don't want to have a whole bunch of money sitting in the bank and then I'm just gone one day and it was just all for nothing, which I understand if that's you, go for it. But with me, like, I'm just trying to think long term on these decisions.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of both, I guess. It's also sad when you see someone with a ton of money and they didn't really enjoy it because they, worked their butt off the whole life.
Right.
So, it's a little bit of there. But yeah, I would definitely, don't, or I would just say don't over exceed the amount of money you have. Basically, it's like you said, right? Like, it's not just $100,000 car.
Right.
That car comes with a $20,000 per year maintenance price tag as well.
Oh yeah.
So look into those things before you buy that toy. You
just kind of have to know what it's going to do for you long term, and that's kind of the thing, is that sales representatives aren't going to tell you that. You really have to read between the lines or do your
own research
on those decisions, because all that they're trying to do is, like, that's their job, is just to make as many sales as possible, get those commission checks. And I get it. If I was in their shoes, I would be trying to do the same thing. But yeah, I mean, basically know what you're getting into. And that's just kind of the sad thing. It seems like all these people that, like, win all this money, like, they kind of, maybe don't manage it well, or they let a lot of it go. Kind of like what you talked about your cousin winning the $3 million lottery. But then there's people like us who know how to manage money. You do all that trading and stuff. You know, like, how to properly manage everything. Yep. And we don't seem to win anything. This seems to be the way.
Well, but that's going to change. I mean, at least for me, I just became a funded trader, which means I have a funded account that I actually can make profits off without the risk of losing my own capital. This is done by a prop firm. So, this things of learning how to manage money and stuff, and even if it seems small, like even if you're managing your $10,000 account, which is, pennies when it comes to, these institutions that have millions or people who have millions of dollars. But still, you learn that skill, and you never know, you might catch a break here or there that might, give you an opportunity to actually manage more money, and then now you have the skills for it. So I think it's all a kind of a work in progress, especially for me. Like, I didn't think I would be trading 5 years ago. If you asked me what you would be doing, I would never have told you I would be trading. But one day I said, this is what I really want to do. Like, if I'm being honest with myself, this is what I want to do. It's just that I never thought it was possible, or that it was so hard, or, reserved for people with a special talent. And upon doing it, I've been a year, almost a year and a half now doing it. I can tell you it's no brain surgery or rocket science. It basically is a job, and if you just work at it, you'll get better. And who knows, there might be millions down the line. I mean, that's the goal, right? So that could be my entry for that. And you never know where yours might come from. It might be this podcast, or it might be your next stand-up show where the big opportunity is going to come. All you got to do is basically do your thing and stay professional, do the things the way you've been doing it so far, and you'll catch a break. You just have to kind of keep your eyes open as well.
Hopefully. I mean, that's part of the rule about repetition, is that kind of like what they call the law of numbers. I wouldn't say it's the same as a slot machine, but at the same time, it's like eventually, let's just assume that there's a slot, maybe the old-fashioned mechanical ones, you keep putting quarters in, eventually a whole bunch of them will drop out and you'll win. But yeah, that's kind of the thing, is you just got to be consistent with it. And that's a problem I've had with a lot of stuff, or why I may put a lot of things off, because I'm kind of like, the podcast, for example. I know that there are other people who have like a lot more professional setups than us, or might have stuff that gets more people's attention. And that's kind of what got me to think, we couldn't do it, we won't make it. But then, like, when you have that mindset, all that does is just cause you to not go anywhere.
So don't do anything. Exactly.
And that's the thing, is that it's like, and that's what a lot of people like that I know who are like professional YouTubers, who like, they know where they started, and then they understand how people feel who want to get started but don't really know, because it's like, I used to do little videos here and there in like the golden age of YouTube, which I called it the golden age because people just uploaded videos for fun. They weren't trying to get monetized. They weren't trying to put their whole business there. But now everyone's got like these HD $1,000 cameras. They've got these like crazy setups, like these, big professional studios, or, just a lot going for them, that you're thinking, how much would that cost? Like, there's no way. Like, I can't afford to get all that right now. All they say is like, look, if you have like an iPhone camera, or like a webcam or anything, they said it doesn't matter. Kind of like what we've got. We're working with the tools we have, and we're seeing what we can make out of that.
Absolutely. And you grow out of it. You grow into it. Like, you get better camera, because you start to care more about the quality. Maybe you get a few dollars here and there from whatever you're doing, and then that you spend that into better equipment, maybe hire some guests, let's have some chicks out here. Maybe we can interview some chicks.
Then maybe that's far in the future, but it's possible. But yeah, no, you're definitely right. Yeah, that's what a lot of it comes down to. I just kind of hope it doesn't end up like my college degree. I persevered, and I like really haven't used it the way it was supposed to be used.
Well, but that's more like you didn't really want it. So go for the thing you want.
This we do want. So that's the difference. And hopefully it does expand to something really good. That's why we need to get that Patreon going.
For sure, yeah. To get some exclusive content. And your OnlyFans. Napoleon only.
That's right. That's why I can't start an OnlyFan, because I would be my only fan. Okay.
So it's been a great talk, Napoleon.
Absolutely.
Successful podcast. Yeah, guys, I hope you like this type of videos where we just kind of shoot the shit, But what would be good, Napoleon, if anyone watching would like us to talk about something, or has an idea
course.
for a topic, if they can put it in the comments, then you and I can really hone in on those topics that people are interested in, because we just talk about what we're interested in.
Right.
But if we get some feedback, then we can make it happen for others.
Exactly. Let's just hope it's not the same type of feedback you get when you hold a microphone too close to the speaker.
No, not that kind. No, because we are professional podcasters. We don't
That's
get that
right.
kind.
That's right. But yeah, if you have any topics you'd like for us to cover, anything you want us to discuss, feel free to leave a comment, even if you want to leave a comment saying, like, hey, we're not crazy about what you have been talking about. Fine. Tell us what you prefer. We don't care. Lady Gaga says there is no such thing as bad publicity, so I don't care if they're good or bad comments. Yeah. Do it.
Hit the thumbs up or hit the thumbs down. Just hit something.
Nah, just hit the thumbs up on that one.
Yeah, please.
Hit the thumbs up, and then if you want to leave a hate comment, that's fine, because you still helped us with the video.
Cool.
All right, then.
It's been good.
Well, yeah, and be on the lookout for our Patreon coming soon. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the next episode of the Napoleon and Gueco podcast.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.